There are moments in the history of science when silence weighs more than 1,000 images. Imagine a telescope that has watched over the cosmos for decades, with an eye capable of peering into the edges of time, and then, suddenly, darkness. No malfunction, no collision, no explosion. Just a decision, cold and bureaucratic, made thousands of kilometers away from that quiet orbit where, for 30 years, the story of the universe has been written. This is the scenario that today worries thousands of astrophysicists around the world. In recent months, NASA has faced one of the most delicate crises in its recent history. Budget cuts threatening the future of iconic observatories such as the Hubble telescope and the Chandra X-ray Observatory. Both, pillars of the so-called Great Observational Fleet, have become symbols of space research, tools that transformed our vision of the universe. But now they risk becoming victims of a ruthless logic, where science is weighed on the scale of cost. The situation arises from a broader context: the rising costs of future missions such as Artemis, the complex management of the James Webb Telescope, and delays in key programs like Mars Sample Return. All this has pushed NASA to review the budgets of its Astrophysics division. In March 2025, a budget proposal suggested drastically cutting funds for Chandra, even proposing a shutdown phase within a few years. A polite euphemism for saying, stop the science, stop the data, stop the voice of one of the most precise instruments ever built to observe the universe in X-rays. To understand the impact of such a decision, one must understand what Chandra is. Launched in 1999, it is the equivalent of a microscope pointed at the most violent regions of the cosmos. Its X-ray eyes have observed rotating supermassive black holes, supernova remnants shining like cosmic diamonds, and relativistic jets extending for thousands of light years. Thanks to it, we learned how hot gas shapes the structure of galaxies and how black holes influence star formation. And yet, in 2025, NASA announced that Chandra is no longer sustainable at current levels. Not because of technical issues, but because of age. Maintenance costs have risen, observation hours are decreasing, and the priority, so it is said, must shift to new missions, more efficient and modern. But what does modern mean in astronomy? An observatory like Chandra, even after 26 years of activity, continues to provide data that no other instrument can match. Its angular resolution remains a global benchmark. And in an era where multi-band observation is the key to understanding cosmic phenomena, giving up an X-ray source means mutilating science. The scientific community has mobilized with an intensity rarely seen before. Dozens of open letters, articles, and petitions have urged the U.S. Congress to save Chandra. Even some members of the James Webb team have expressed solidarity, reminding everyone that great discoveries are never born from a single eye, but from many that look together. Meanwhile, another icon faces a difficult time: Hubble, the telescope that defined the collective imagination of modern science. For over 35 years, it has observed the visible universe with a clarity that still astonishes. But in 2024, it lost 2 of its gyroscopes, entering the so-called 1-gyro mode. This means it can still observe, but more slowly, with restrictions on where and for how long it can point. It's like an old photographer with a perfect camera but an unstable tripod. More patience and precision are required, but the photo still comes out, and often, it's still breathtaking. Yet Hubble too has come under fire from budget cuts. The latest proposals foresee a gradual reduction in operational staff, leading to automated management that would effectively reduce its scientific productivity. And yet, even as the budgets shrink, its images continue to amaze. Galaxies intertwined like filaments of cosmic silk, newborn stars exploding in ultraviolet light, jets of matter ejected from brown dwarfs, and thousands of other phenomena that would remain invisible without Hubble. The paradox is obvious. While we invest billions in new telescopes, we are willing to let die those that still work perfectly. As if a painter decided to destroy his best brushes simply because he bought a new canvas. And so, in NASA's hallways and congressional hearings, the price of knowledge is debated, a knowledge that, for many scientists, has no measurable economic value, yet represents our most authentic legacy. And here arises a deeper question, one that spans both science and philosophy. How much is the silence of the cosmos worth when we no longer listen? Because, when you think about it, it's not just about money. Behind every budget line lies a vision of the future, an idea of what it means to be a civilization that observes the sky. If one day we decide to turn off instruments like Hubble or Chandra, it won't just mark the end of 2 missions. It will be a sign of how we have chosen to look, or to stop looking, at the universe around us. Astronomers know this well. Every time a telescope is deactivated, a part of the sky goes dark again. And that darkness is not only physical, it is cognitive. In 2025, during a symposium in Pasadena, an astrophysicist summed up the issue in simple words. We can't understand the universe in just one color, and he was right. Because while the James Webb shows us the infrared, and the Fermi Observatory reveals gamma rays, Chandra tells us the story of energy, of hot matter, of the explosive hearts of galaxies. Without it, the cosmic picture becomes incomplete, like a symphony missing its wind instruments. And Hubble? Hubble is much more than a telescope. It is the lens through which humanity has learned to see itself in the cosmos. When, in 1995, it released the first deep field image, that snapshot of thousands of distant galaxies, it forever changed our perception of our place in the universe. It was as if humanity, for the first time, had looked into a mirror and seen infinity. Turning off Hubble would mean giving up that capacity for wonder, for emotion in the face of mystery. But the debate isn't merely romantic. Many scientists propose concrete technical solutions, redistributing funds among NASA divisions, forming international partnerships to maintain the observatories, and using artificial intelligence to optimize scheduling and reduce operational costs. Others suggest a radical approach, transforming Hubble and Chandra into community-driven missions, open to direct contributions from universities and private foundations, much like the great ground-based radio telescopes. It would be a revolution, but also a way to reaffirm that knowledge is a collective heritage. Meanwhile, the data keep coming. In 2025, Chandra detected an X-ray jet 400,000 light-years long from a quasar at redshift 2.5. Hubble, during the same period, captured a cluster of galaxies 4 billion light-years away, whose gravity acts as a natural lens magnifying the primordial universe. These results, published right as their closures were being discussed, felt like a taunt, as if to say, look what you're ready to give up. And so, perhaps the real question is not whether we can afford to keep these telescopes, but whether we can afford to lose them. Every generation has had its symbolic instruments. Galileo had his telescope, Herschel his hand-polished mirror, Hubble and Chandra their digital eyes in space. Today, the risk is that the next generation will grow up without seeing what we have seen. And yet, there is a glimmer of hope. Public and academic mobilization has pushed NASA to reconsider some decisions. In September 2025, the agency announced a plan to extend Hubble's operations until 2030 and to keep Chandra active at least until 2028, on a reduced but still vital operating regime. It's a compromise, but also a signal. The silence can wait. Perhaps, in the end, science is not measured in years of service or budget lines, but in eyes that remain open even when the night seems darkest. And as long as even one of those telescopes keeps watching, we will watch with it. Because to stop exploring is not just an economic mistake, it is to forget who we are. If you've made it this far, it means you love curiosity as much as we do. If this journey moved you, leave a like, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support what we do. Your presence truly makes a difference. Until the next exploration.